Hello guys, welcome to all of you in the data mindset. My name is Amit and I'm your host for this session. Before going to start today discussions, I would like to make a request over here. If you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it, and I will really request that is you can comment on the content that we are producing over here. So it will really make me happy and it make my work very passionate, that is I can respond to you if you are feeling any challenges to understand the content. So I would request once again that is please subscribe the channel so that you can get the latest video on your inbox. Alright, so in the yesterday discussions we have gone through the decent convert statement and we understand that how to write if-else statement, and we have also seen that is some of the examples by writing if-else statement code. In today's agenda I would show you some of the intimate level problems which can help you to understand more better way for the liking of for the writing of if-else statement. Going forward, I will show you some of the quiz over here that you can see over the screen over in this slide, and of course in the subsequent class I will bring you some advanced level questions that can help you to solve if-else statement, and this is very important guys. So without wasting much time, let's go and start it. Alright, so I have a two problem for you guys. I think let me make it little zoom in, okay, so that you can see this screen. Here I have written two problems. One problem is related to cashback and one is customer segmentations. Okay, this is the two problems. Normally it is related to the banking systems, or maybe you can say this is banking and financial institutions problems, where you have to a lot of data related to it, and then you have to make a certain logic on top of it, that is how you can give the cashback offer to your customers. Second problems, which you have to do the classification of the customers based upon their spendings. Okay, so let's go and start the first problem, which is cashback problems. Alright, so we will write the our solution over here. So I'm just inserting some cells over here. Okay, so look at the problem. Problem is saying how you can give the cashback to your customers depending upon their shopping values. So let's say if the customers do the shopping of 5,000 rupees, then you are giving the 10% cashback. If the customer is spending more than 2,000 rupees, then you are giving the 5% cashback, and the customer is spending more than 500 rupees, then you are giving the cashback of 2%, and lesser than that amount of 500 rupees you are not providing any cashback, right? So these are the certain rules we have to apply on the transactions data, and then we can able to understand that is should we provide cashback offer, or how we can make this rules to applicable for other transactions in our data. So let's go and start it, guys. So first what I'm going to do is I will create one variable called let's say shopping, or let's say shopping amount. Okay, and I will write it down as a float values. Again I will input and then enter the shopping values, enter the shopping amount or values. Okay, correct. Now we will start writing the rules. The rule is if let's say shopping underscore amount is greater than 500, then you are saying print, or maybe say cashback is equal to shopping amount into 0.02, right? Because we are providing the 2% and 2% is 0.02, right? And then you are throwing a message to customer, you will get you will get 2% cashback on this happy shopping value, and the cashback, okay, right? Okay, now we will look into the next rules. So for that I will write elif shopping underscore amount, let's say greater than 500, and shopping underscore amount less than 2000 or equal to 2000. Okay, all right. So here cashback is equal to, okay, cashback amount is shopping amount into, let's say 0.04. okay, because between these two conditions we have not given the rules, like, between 500 to 2000 rupees what will be the cashback, so it is not mentioned, so just we are creating over here. So let's say the 4% cashback we are providing to the customers between these two shopping amount. Okay, and now we are going to write, I just copy this one, okay, so that we can save some amount of time, and let me put it over here. Okay, I can put it over here and I can write it down. You will get 4% cashback on this happy shopping and cashback values, right? Okay, followed by that again I will write the third conditions. If shopping amount is greater than 2000 and shopping amount is less than 5000, correct, then cashback, okay, I will copy this. In fact I can copy this two line altogether and I will put it over here. Okay, and this time we can write the rules is shopping on this amount will be cashback of 5%, and then we can change to 4 to 5%, and then okay, this is a shopping cashback values, or we can write to cashback, no problem, it's okay. And then we can write again elif, okay, then we can write shopping underscore amount is greater than 5000, okay, then cashback, let me make it little, so we can write it down, okay, and I just copy this one and I can paste it and do the necessary changes. 1 second, yeah, so it should be the 10%, okay, and here we can see you will get the 10% values, okay, and else, okay, we can write print you are not eligible for any cashback, or you can say your shopping value is not sufficient for any cashback, right? Okay, so I think this is good to go, so I can execute this piece of the code and let's test it. Okay, now let's say if I just put it out let's say I do this 1000 rupees. Okay, so what I'm okay, error shopping amount, one second, just a moment. uh, okay, is that okay? Let me, yeah, correct. You can see that is you will get 2% cashback on this happy shopping values 20, right? So this falls under this one. Okay, uh, correct. mm, but why, one second. Oh no, this rules is, I think there is some incorrect rules we have, because every value will be greater than 500. So I think we can write it. Let's say the value will be, okay, less than 500. Let me make changes. Okay, so I just put it over here. Let's say shopping value is greater than 100, and okay, now we can write it down, or equal to, okay, so let's execute this time. Okay, right. So now it should be able to, since the value is between this range 500 to 2000 rupees, so where we can get the 4% cash value, which is 40 over here, right? So now the our rules is correct. Let's execute it once again. For example, let's say if I just put it over here, let's say for example I just put it out, let's say 90 rupees. So you can say the shopping value is not sufficient for any cashback. Again I execute this code. Let me do it once again, and let's say I give it like 8000 rupees. Okay, so you can say 10% cashback values, which is 800 rupees. All right, so I think this program is working absolutely fine. Okay, so this is the way you can write your if else statement. Of course there is just some room for improvement of this code. It is just a basic level of the code, just to make understand that is how we can write if else statement. Okay, so you can make this program much better. Okay, of course we will see that is what are the rooms for improvement in this programs. We will see in the going forward class, but yeah, for this respect to the problem statement, we can write this as a way for this solutions. Now what will be, let's move to the next question. It's also very interesting questions where we can say we have to identify the customer segmentations based upon their spending. Okay, and normally these kind of the problems we encounter into the banking transactions related, so where we have to do some classifications, and maybe like an e-commerce industry, because my most of the experience goes into the banking sector. So please bear with me, that is I sometimes I used to bring a lot of examples related to the banking context. But yes, there could be other scenarios in related to e-commerce industries, and like maybe insurance industry also, and so on. So where we can do the some classifications or the segmentations based upon their customer behaviors and their spendings, right? So now let's say if we have to create the rules for this one, like how we can classify the rules. So let's say the rules is saying if the customer is spending more than like 1 million, so that means it's a platinum customers. Greater than 5 lakhs is a gold customers. Greater than 1 lakh is silvers, and below 1 lakh is bronze customers. Okay, so based upon that we will see the customer segmentations. Of course, to get the spending amount, you have to do some, at the data levels you have to do some aggregations, right? I believe that is, you understand, when we have a lot of transactions data, so to qualify, to get this value of the spending amount, we have to do the aggregations that is based on the our SQLs. So in SQLs we have to do the some kind of, in SQLs we have to do the aggregations, and based on aggregations we can apply these rules, right? So I believe that is those understanding you can generate, you can get it while working into the larger data. All right, so let's go back to here. I assume that is, we have aggregate data, and based upon that we are asking, that is, let's say spending amount. Let's say spending is a variable, and then I'm asking for the values, right? The value is, let's say, I'm asking for enter your spending amount. Okay, and now we can create the rules, right? On top of that we can create the rules. Okay, okay, so let's say I'm going to write if spending, sorry, if spending is, okay, less than 1 lakh. Okay, then we can say okay, segmentation, or yeah, or we can let's say customer segmentation is branch. Okay, if spending is greater than 1 lakh and spending is less than 2 lakh, is that 2 lakh or 5 lakh? Okay, or 5 lakh. Okay, hmm. Then we can say customer seg is silver. Okay, elif, okay, spending is greater than equal to 5 lakh and spending is less than 1 million, then customer segmentation is gold. Correct, and spending is greater than 1 million, then customer segment is like in a premium or diamond. Okay, diamond. Correct. Else, okay, else we can write, okay, so print or maybe better we did or maybe let's say else, let me do it one, else we can write print and we can write uh, like this is not a valid input because maybe the customer or maybe the value has been entered which is not fit into these are the conditions. So what you can do is just doing one thing, print. I'm going to add one more lines. You can do it. You can reduce this line, but again I'm just going to make it one more line over here. This customer falls into Kasig. Okay. Now I just going to add this print statement to every conditions. Okay, let me do it. You can. Okay, all right. So now let me execute this piece of the code. Okay, so let's say I execute it, and this time I'm spending the, let's say, 3 lakhs. Okay, so what is the output we are getting? This customer falls into the silver, or we can say falls into. All right, all right. I'm going to make it more. All right, so keep it here, make changes. All right, so this is very interesting, guys. Like you have to understand it, where you can fit your logic, you can make your conditions more meaningful, and try to capture all possible scenario. Okay, so that your program looks more matured, and it could be able to it can able to accommodate all possible conditions. So let me execute this piece of the code, and now what I'm going to do is this time I'm putting, like let's say 7 lakh rupees. Okay, now it is saying this customer fall into the gold category, right? So I hope you can able to understand how we have written this, like customer segmentations based upon their spendings, right? Okay, so hope you have enjoyed this this 2 program. Now come back to this, like today quiz session. All right, so let me show you very interesting some quiz, and this is related to some higher level of, like understandings, where you have to understand, like these are the quiz normally they used to ask the people who having a good experience, at least 5+ or the 7+ years of experience. Okay, but no worry, like you can hit these questions and try to answer this one. Look at here. Basically this is the questions have been written particularly when we have designing this, like this null value imputations. Okay, so if null ratio is, let's say, 0.05, then statistics drop. If null ratio is greater than 0.03, then statistics we need to impute this one, else it's a clean data, right? So this is a normally we do it, like which are the columns we need to impute, which are the columns we should not impute, which are the columns is clean, because this is the part it comes into the EDA. So EDA is like exploratory data analysis, while we write some piece of the code just to understand that which are the columns we have to do we have to apply some transformations, or we have to do some kind of the cleanings. So this is a, like very very important stage while we are building some kind of the model development, and this is a part of the EDA, right? Now come back to here, like this is, look at here, because 0.05 is not strict greater than 0. Let's say because 0.05 is not strictly greater than 0.05, okay, it falls down the second conditions, right? Okay, correct. So in these 2 conditions, okay, the rule number 1 here, it is, this is not a very strict, because here if you have written 0.03, so by default it will fall into, all this scenario will fall into here, because it will be able to capture 0.05 automatically, because we say that this is not a rule number, line number 1, which is if statement, is not a strict. Here the line is strict where it can able to consider all possible the value which is all possible status which is having the null value 0.03. So all the value which is having null value 0.03 or greater than 3%, we have to impute those columns, right? One very important question is normally they ask in interviews, okay? Very important question is, why is an if-else chain fundamentally more computational efficient than series of independent if statement for threshold check? Okay, because normally we write if, elif, else, this chain, right? And we can say this is a block of the code. So people used to ask, that is why this is the more efficient way to write rather than writing in the multiple if statement. Okay, so look at here. It stops evaluating matching branches immediately, okay, and prevent redundant CPU cycle on the secondary conditions. Look at here, key takeaway, we can say Python finds a match in if-else branches and if it keeps evaluating the remaining conditions, right? So why it falls into the if-else branches? Once the condition is getting matched, it goes into that branches and they try to evaluate that conditions, okay, and then it's forget the rest of the the remaining conditions. So that is why if else statement is there, it can able to capture the largest the conditionals, or you can say the largest conditions values, and so that it can able to figure it out, that is all possible scenario in that particularly conditions which have a lower threshold and upper threshold, okay, and if it is falls into that, it is efficient to check into that particular line and no need to go for the other branches, okay. So that is why it is a more efficient rather than going for checking every single if statement, right? Okay, next is ML constraint and nested flow, right? So this is a very important stage, okay. Of course, to model deployment constraints are, let's say the model accuracy is more than 90% and the latency is less than 100 milliseconds, okay. So that means latency over here is what is the response time of your models, okay. Response time of the models means that is how much time it used to take it to respond your input, okay, once you are going to deploy these models. So this is normally the conditions we like and check, that is which model is supposed to deploy into our production environment. So look at here. All right, nested weekend engineering, okay. Of course, some more task over here is weekend, okay. If hour is less than 12, so morning rest, else afternoon rest. So why this is conditions and what is the logic behind it? Here you can say, let's say this is falls into the 12-hour cycle, okay. If it is falls into the 12-hour cycles, or you can say, then how we can do the label of this flow. Should we stop that flow, or should we do the reset at what time, in the morning reset or the afternoon reset? I hope you will understand, these are the things when you are going forward into the data science kind of the environment, and these are the things is very important. So this is giving you more perspective, that is this is not only constraint related to the logic that you have to written, but again it is you have to apply into the going forward. If even your model is built, you have to deploy in that, you have to write some kind of the conditions, and those conditions you can see over here, right? Third is AI routine and syntactically edge cases, right? It's a very interesting. Look at here. What is the system output if the confidence is 0.45? Correct? So confidence is, let's say, greater than 0.8, this auto reply. Confidence is 0.5, then clarity. Confidence is greater than 0.3, human root, or else reject. So look at here. By default it say that is if the confidence is greater than 0.3, okay, so by default it will goes to the human root, right? Because the score is greater than 0.3 but not high enough to automate on the clarity. Okay, so what happens in this scenario? What happens in this scenario? In this scenario, like, let's say you have IVR calls, and normally, like, how you can route it through the human channels by providing this kind of the confidence. So where you can write, many AI layers, and these are the layers is routing through the, different channels. Okay, and so on. Look at here, challenge 6, which is like, single equal to incorrect if the loss is equal to 0.01, if the loss is equal to double sign, like, this one single sign, actually you are assigning the values to this variable called loss. Double equal to, actually you are comparing that. Okay, this is what you can get it. So the correct one is second one, the green one, right? Okay, so here is Pythonic indentations and logic strategy. Okay, some more points. Python doesn't use brackets, or you can say the curly brackets, to define blocks. It maps structures purely through consistent indentations. So like normal other programmings in the Java, we have to write our block of the code by providing the this curly bracket, but normally in the programmings we do not have to write this any brackets. So it is only through the indentations we can able to handle this, like, the bracket blocks, or maybe like, block of the codes. Logically inverse not to evaluate actions where the feature is missing and evaluate to false. Use the Pythonic unary operators, not features. Okay, of course you might have seen, like, and, or, not, these kind of things in the operators. So that is what it is asking over here. Again, like, if the score is greater than 0.5, then pass. Score is greater than 9, distinctions, and so on. So like, you can design your narrow logic, and so that your most of the data that pass through these are the narrow logics, and they can go, give the response. All right, so these are the certain things from the perspective of, like, quiz and all. So make sure that is normally you have to understand that these are the scenario you can get into the interview stages, where they typically try to ask you the questions which is really very niche, and try to test that is you might have written some piece of the code or not. So this is very, very important, very, very important, guys. So I hope you have enjoyed the sessions. I will keep doing the same thing, so that at the same time you learn the basics, at the same time you will learn the other application of those concepts into the higher advanced topics, maybe like, the machine learnings, AI, and the data science itself. So understand that is there are the two things. One is basics part, one is advanced topics. So we have to make the bridge. We will write some piece of codes in the basics and the intermediate level, and simultaneously based upon those concepts we will hit the advanced level questions and the logic, right? So this is what make you think aware of, that is how does the entire shift will going to happen in the future. So I hope you have enjoyed the session. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.